see one. Go by say, how much you lose, how much you gain. One I want the international, international till the money. Baby there, look into my right, so uche. No collabo, we still there. For this collabo, what all I get.
The cat music.
When the building, ladies,
what all I get.
ladies,
FBI, no, boy, keys.
Bust this.
On the 103.5 FM.
This is on a 103.5 FM. Up next is 360 Parenting Hub.
Good afternoon to you again, wherever you're listening to me from. Welcome to 360 Parenting with Ibukunoluwa Otesile on 103.5 FM. How's the day going? The weather's been, what do we call this weather? Quite humid. It's been quite hot. Particularly, our children have resumed back to school. So I think it's still okay for me to say happy resumption, even though this is the second week of resumption. Welcome to 360 Parenting, once again, where we talk about everything that has to do with raising your children. Yes, being the best version of yourself that you can be as regards parenting your children. And we talk about parenting because every child or every adult is a reflection of their childhood, is a reflection of the kind of parenting that they had. And so if we are talking about the new Nigeria, then we must take parenting very, very seriously. And that's why on 360 Parenting, we talk about everything that has to do with raising those children, whether they are your biological children or, your children within your influence, raising those children, helping them grow to be adults that can then make meaningful contribution to the Nigeria that all of us are looking forward to. So welcome once again to 360 Parenting. So our time is really far gone, and so I would just go straight into the conversation that we would have this evening, and the conversation really is around the resumption of our children in schools. Now this is the second week of resumption. Usually I like to have the discussion around preparing them for school. So, but I think second week of resumption is still we can still have this conversation. This evening, I want us to look at helping your children or helping our children deal with anxiety in school. One of the, I think it was last month. Or was it last week? Yes, school just resumed this week. This is the second week. It was last week. It was last week that I had to engage with a child that started bedwetting. And this child had stopped bedwetting years back and then, started bedwetting again. And so the mother being concerned, a friend being concerned, we're having a conversation and then, she just mentioned it, that this had happened to our daughter, and that was like the third time in a row back to back that she'll be having it. So when we started conversing on, did anything change in our routine, in our diet, in our schedule and all of that, the only thing that had changed was the fact that school had resumed. And it wasn't even that she was changing school or that she was changing class, because this is the third term. So first term, second term, she was resuming to the third term. So it was the same school, same class, same teacher, yet she was regressing. What we call regression is when children begin to do things that they had done, their developmental tasks that they had achieved or milestones that they had achieved a long time ago, and then they go back to it. One is bedwetting, another is you find a child that had stopped thumb sucking, now starts thumb sucking again. Things that they used to do. Just like the word regress, they go back to those things that they had past, those things they were able to do before, then you find them struggling to be able to overcome those things or to meet those developmental milestones again. And then I discovered that the young girl she was anxious. She was anxious because she was in the third term, and the third term is the promotional term, or she will be writing promotional exam. And so she was anxious about school. She was anxious about the exam that she was going to write. And I think they're going to write the exam, that should be around July. I think July, yes. That exam that she's going to write far back July is what she's already feeling anxious about now. So I said to myself that I'm sure she's just one. There might be other children that are actually going through this at this time. So what do you do as a parent if you have a child that, is anxious about school? Might not be showing as much signs or distress as the one that I just expressed, but he or she could also be showing some or having some distress as a result of anxiety tied to school resumption. Let's take this break and then we'll be back. So first, let me establish that it is perfectly normal for your child to feel anxious or for your child to have anxiety from time to time. Just as adults, we get anxious about, about new jobs, about new places, about new roles, about new tasks. It's okay for us to get anxious from time to time. However, when it begins to impair our ability to function, then that's a call for concern. In the child's case, when it begins to impair the ability to concentrate or going to school then becomes a drag because, the child is visibly anxious about going to school, then it's a thing of concern. So the first thing is, how do you as a parent, how are you able to tell that, oh, my child is experiencing or suffering or having anxiety about school or about class? What are the telltale signs that would help me to identify that that's the problem with my child? In the case that I'd expressed, because there was a conversation with me, I could link it, with that. But what if you don't have that opportunity to have that conversation with a psychologist or a counselor or somebody that has some level of knowledge in that space? What do you do? What are the telltale signs that you as a parent might be able to look out for? Now, whether it's to check for anxiety or, anything else, one of the things very, very important for you as a parent is to be very, very observant, is to be involved in your child's life. One of the things, again, I mentioned that is, I've talked about this, the importance of having routines for our children, helping them to establishing routines for them. Now, it will help you in, at times like this when you want to tell if there is a problem or there's something going on with them. So what you want to do is, as a parent, you have to be observant. Now, school has just resumed. What was the disposition of your child to school resuming? What's the disposition of your child now that school has resumed? Now, look at that with last term. What was the disposition of your child when school resumed last time? So you want to check for changes. There might be subtle changes, but you want to check, is there any change in my child's disposition about going to school? You want to be observant about that. That's one. Then two, engage your children. Please, when they come back from school, let's not keep asking them, yes or no questions. Oh, how was school? Fine. Let them talk. Let them tell you about their day, the number of subjects that they did, what they did in school, what friends they made, if their friends, all of their friends came. Sometimes the reason for the anxiety might just be that our friends, maybe she had two friends and then the two of them have left the school, or I told her the previous term, and children talk. I've told her the previous term that, oh, I'm not coming back to the school next term. And she feels, oh, she's probably going to be all by herself. So just engage them in the multitude of conversation. You might just be able to pick one or two things that would give you insight into what might be going on with your child. Now, again, one of the reasons why it's important for you to have that conversation with them, like broad conversation with them, is it gives you a picture of their school. It gives you a picture of their class. It gives you a picture of, the system, the structure of the school. So when there is a deviation from there or from that, it's easier for you to be able to tell. But if you don't know the number of students or number of pupils in our class or in his class, you don't know, you can picture the school, you can picture the class, you can picture what's going on with her, then or him, it becomes difficult for you to be able to provide, support or intervention or rescue or whatever it is that you want to do. Now you then begin to look out for signs. I talked about regression just, as we started this conversation. So are there things that your child used to do when the child was much younger that you then notice that your child then starts to do? I'd mentioned bedwetting, that's extreme, but you could have thumb sucking, that things that, your child didn't used to do before, and then you notice that your child then starts doing those things. It could just be a sign that something is happening, your child is anxious, or there's just something disturbing that child, or interfering with the normal or natural course that child had been exposed to, or that child is aware of. And then again, just fear. You can almost see fear in your child when you're taking the child to school, or you're talking about school or talking about the class. You can almost touch the fear or the change in the child's mood. That might also be a telltale sign. The child can become clingy. So you take them to school, and then when you want to drop off, before you drop off, the child is hugging you again, holding your hand, or says, "Oh, mommy, walk me to school." Just a bit more clingy than the child usually is, whether male child or female child. That might just be a sign that there's something happening. Something might not just even be anxiety. It might be deeper than that, and it might just be anxiety. But that's a telltale sign for you to know that there is something happening with your child. Now, so when you have identified this, or when you are suspecting, or you have reasons to be concerned that maybe your child might be having anxiety, or it's been anxious about going to school, or about a class, or about a teacher, it could be about a subject, whatever it is, any anxiety that is related to school or to learning, what do you then do as a parent? How do you help your child? There are three things that I will be saying this evening as we draw the curtain, because again, time is fast spent. Okay, so let me quickly rush through those three things. Now, the first is to help your child name or identify the emotions that they experience or what they feel. So you've picked the signs, or you've seen the telltale signs, or you assume, or you can tell that, oh, there's something happening with my child, or my child is anxious about this. So have a conversation with that child, whether the child is 3 years old, or the child is 5, or the child is 7, or the child is 12 or 13. Have a conversation with the child. As simple as, I noticed that this and this, or just this has been happening. Are you anxious about school, or are you scared? Are you, have a conversation. Help your child to identify the emotion that child is having, or what that child is feeling. Help your child to put a finger to it, to put a name to it, like you tag the emotion or the feeling that child is having. So one of the things that will help to do is to help your child understand that it is perfectly normal to feel that. It helps them to also feel safe, and that you have an understanding of what is happening with them. So the first thing is help them to identify what is wrong. And then the second thing is help them to walk through it. Now, it might be as simple as setting goals for them. So, for instance, if the anxiety has to do with the exam or being able to succeed or pass a particular subject, or whatever it is, then create goals around that particular difficulty or particular area of concern. Just little goals that they would achieve, and as they achieve those goals, it helps build their confidence. It helps them, to get over whatever fear that they have. Another thing that you can do or teach your child or your children is to separate facts from perception. So for instance, if a child is afraid of a teacher because they say that this teacher is a hard teacher or is a teacher that beats often, you can't have a teacher that just beats, well, maybe yes, some that have some disorders, and just enjoy inflicting pain on other people. But ordinarily, there must be a reason. You must have done something for there to be a teacher that would, whether they have a wrong perception of what you did or not, there must be something that would then bring about the response, which might be the punishment or the flogging, whatever it is. Now, so you then help them to understand that for that to happen, it means that you must contravene, you must violate something, or you must, do something for that other part of the action for it to happen. So separate facts from perception, what people have said, from what you have experienced, or from what is true. Help them write out some of those things, write out some of the fears, and then, their worries, their concerns, their fears, list them out, and then identify the facts. Like, you do fact check for each of those concerns. I need to wrap up at this time. You do like a fact check for each of the concerns that they raise, and then the third is just be there and provide support. Just keep reassuring them. It's okay for you to be afraid about school. It's okay for you to be afraid about the subject, but you then encourage them to keep at it, because the fact that you're afraid does not mean that you cannot still achieve whatever you want to achieve. You can, that's where courage comes in. Courage is not because we don't get scared, we're not afraid. It's that we do what we need to do despite the fear, or despite the fear that we have, and that basically is courage. So if you put those three things together, it will help you provide the support that your children might need to overcome school-related anxiety. This is where I will be drawing the curtain this evening. Don't forget, every child in your care is there so that you can do what protects them and help them grow to become responsible adults. If you cannot help them, please don't damage them. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.